Hey friend, Roger Christofferson here with a lot of horrible news today. As many of you probably have seen, we lost Ozzy today, and even though we all knew it was coming, it still doesn't make it any easier at all. I didn't really want to seem like I'm jumping on the bandwagon and making a video, because he died today. But you know what? I love Ozzy Osbourne. He's one of these guys that has been in my life for as long as I can actually remember. I got into his music way back before I even knew I wanted to do music myself. I was listening to, I had friends that were a little bit older than me, and they had Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman, and they used to play the songs all the time. Of course, I heard it on the radio all the time when I was listening, first getting into music. And I'd sit there with my little tape recorder and wait for songs to come on, and I'd record them as fast as I could. And Ozzy was one of those guys that every time they play a song I hadn't heard before, I was always super excited when I could record it. And I remember when I first started earning my own real money, mowing lawns, and I had paper route and all that stuff. I would go out and buy music, and one of the very first things I ever bought was Bark at the Moon. And I can't even tell you how many times I listened to that album. And I remember me and my buddy, one of my best friends, we were both super into Ozzy, when The Ultimate Sin was going to come out, and they had released it, and there was a video that they were doing on MTV. It was this huge deal. It was this major thing that they were doing. We got the speakers all hooked up, got to turn all the lights out. We sat there and we watched that whole thing like we were at the concert. And I don't remember ever doing that for any other musician ever. That's the only time we ever did that. So, when I say I've been listening to him my whole life, I'm not kidding. I remember when I first discovered he was the singer for Black Sabbath, my mind was blown. I don't know how old I was. I was probably very early teens. And I'm holy crap, there's more Ozzy? What? There was no internet, I couldn't afford magazines or anything like that. It was just kind of word of mouth. And the people I was my age, didn't know all this stuff. And, so you gradually kind of figure it out on your own. And I just remember that just being mind blown. There's all this other stuff I had to get. It was funny because my friend had the album We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll, and I'm yeah, that's amazing. That's Ozzy, what? And so I went out and bought the very first Black Sabbath album. Was the very next thing I got once I figured that out. And once again, I can't even tell you how many times I've listened to that album, and it's probably still to this day my favorite Black Sabbath album. I don't know what it is about that one, just there's some type of energy on that album that it can't be explained. It's very raw, but you just feel the youth and the the magic in the music. I don't even know how else to explain it. But then of course Ozzy went on to do his own thing, and eventually got back with these guys, Black Sabbath, a couple different times. But when he went out on his own, and I remember just going through every phase with him, I was really, I kind of discovered Ozzy after Randy Rhoads had passed, so I was a little bit past that. I didn't discover Ozzy until Bark at the Moon was when I really discovered him, I just explained earlier. But and I didn't know all the history and all that stuff, but as time goes on, you find more and more stuff out. And I just remember when Zach joined the band, I was old enough to go to concerts by this point, and when No Rest for the Wicked came out, I can't remember who I went with. I've been to so many concerts, it's hard to remember. Things get a little bit blurry, but I had 8th row for that show, and it was Anthrax opening up, and I was pretty huge into Anthrax too, because I was into heavier stuff a lot, and just the concert experience, it was like nothing I had ever seen before in my life. It was the energy and the excitement just from Ozzy loving. I just remember how much he loved performing. You could see it when he was doing that show. And of course, Zach was actually crazy. Just I remember him spitting up in the air and then trying to catch the spit back in his mouth again, like several times. It's kind of funny now looking back. I thought it was disgusting at the time, but looking back now, it's kind of funny. And I saw him only one other time. I saw him with Vixen and White Lion were opening up the show, and I get to see him again on whatever tour that was. I can't remember the years. I never prepare for this stuff. I'm just kind of winging it. Wasn't really prepared for this to happen so quickly. But, just looking back on the memories I've had with Ozzy, and I've, defended him to my parents and had to, read the lyrics. I remember in one of my history classes, one of the teachers read the lyrics to Thank God for the Bomb. And I remember making a big deal about it because one of the other students had brought it in, and he's, reading the lyrics. And I remember him saying, if Ozzy Osbourne wrote this song, then I'm a fan of Ozzy Osbourne, just by reading the lyrics. So I think he was misunderstood a lot. Obviously, he had his demons and with alcohol and drugs and whatever. But in every interview I've seen him with, all the documentaries that I own, all the stuff that I've watched over the years, he's always been like a nice guy. He cares about his fans. He genuinely loves his fans. I believe that wholeheartedly. He's always taken the younger bands out on the road with him, promoted younger bands that he wouldn't even think would be like a good fit. He took them all out and gave them all a chance. I just think that he's just very supportive of other musicians. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I'm not going to do that with this. But just, he's just been like a huge influence for me musically and just inspirationally. My band that I'm in now still plays, we play No More Tears, and we do the whole thing. We do it to the T. I mean, we've gave it everything we got to make it sound like Ozzy, and I've been playing that song to other different bands since it first came out. Stuff's not easy to play. I don't care what people say. To do Ozzy right is not easy to do. I used to play I Don't Know. It was one of my favorite songs to play, actually. Back in one of the other bands I was in. Everybody did Crazy Train. I've done that, of course. But, some of the oddball songs did Mr. Crowley. I don't know. Of course, I learned how to play Iron Man and way back before when I was first learning how to play guitar. I actually performed Paranoid. I was in a Christian rock band back in my teen years, and we did a Battle of the Bands, and we did Paranoid. How that fit together, I don't know, but it was kind of funny. So just all kinds of stuff my whole life. I could just go on and on and on. So he's been a huge influence, and this just wanted to be a tribute to him. I think if we talk about people, and of course he's got tons of music, his memory's not going to die, but I just think when you talk about people and make them, share your memories and experiences, it keeps them even more alive, I guess, is, a good way to put it. And it's funny because I just got done listening and watching the Back to the Beginning concert, and fortunately I had a show that night, so I didn't get to watch it while it was happening, but I got to see afterwards the performance of it. And as I was watching it, I saw him sitting in that chair, couldn't stand, obviously, but the look on his face was pure love of what he was doing. I remember thinking that when I watched it. I was like, I hope that when I'm that age I can still have that much joy and happiness doing that. So man, it's weird because I just watched it and he's gone already. Even though I knew it was happening, he's gone already. It's just tough to even think about, but I guess it's just a good memory isn't just knowing that he loved being on the stage. He loved music. He loved his fans. I think he loved his family from what I've seen. I've watched the Osbournes. The TV show was kind of weird, but I was watching the podcast a lot lately, and they just seemed like they really got along with each other really well and had fun with each other, and still managed to, even though it was a crazy circumstance to most people, they had genuinely, I think, loved each other as well. So this is my tribute to Ozzy. I've done actually more reviews and stuff. I think Ozzy was one of the very first reviews I ever did. I started out doing these album battles and stuff like that, which I never did an Ozzy album battle. Maybe I'll do one of those. But one of the very first reviews I ever did was of, I think it was Straight to Hell. I think when that song was released, I think that might be the first one I did, but I definitely did that. A couple of the other singles, the albums after that. I think I've done more reviews of his. I haven't checked to be sure, but I'd be willing to bet I've done more reviews and stuff of Ozzy than I've done of anybody else. So, I mean, I live by my words, and I think Ozzy did the same, and I'm just gonna miss him. It's just weird when somebody famous like this passes away. Never really met him. It's still, he was part of our lives. Our entire lives, for me anyway, and somehow it had an impact on how we actually live and experience things, and the soundtrack to events in our lives. It's just so he has touched us, whether he knew it or not, and he's become part of our lives. So just want to keep that memory alive, and hope to see him again someday. Until then, we'll see you.